Hello. So today our topic is zero trust security. What is zero trust security and how to implement it for the modern AI era and the possible quantum disruption that we are expecting to have. So let's start by discussing what exactly this thing is. Basically, the discussion started somewhere back in 2020, where some questions was raised in the past from some scientists and some reports highlighted them. But actually, it gained attraction basically in COVID pandemic, where many remote workers were there, and a different model came into existence for the remote working, which eventually evolved into hybrid working and other models. But there was a need for different type of security. So thus came and involved the concept of zero trust model, which is much into traction these days and is a much need of a time. Reason why we'll discuss shortly. So there are certain principles out there for the zero trust security. First of all, we assume that everything is already breached. So we verify explicitly again and again, always. So always authenticate, always authorized based on available data points. And use least privileges always. So we give them just in time, just enough access, risk-based adopted policies. How? We're going to see that. But here the main principles are there. So as I said, you always assume that basically the breach has already happened. Now what you can do. This is the basis of this basically zero trust security. So you authenticate often and more often and always actually, and then you have basically assuming the breach is there, so you do necessary steps considering that the breach has already happened, like for example segmentation that you can do. So this is zero trust security. How to implement it? There are a number of ways actually. As I said, you could do segmentation, you could increase segmentation in the network layer, you could do MFA, which is a thing almost into practice in most of the solutions. You use IAM solution to provide timed access, privilege identity management solution, and then it can do, can handle inbuilt MFA as well for you, and then it can do OTP, single sign-on, and many other things for you. Encryption is there. When we talk about encryption, as I said, you always assume that the breach has already happened, so you always encrypt. And when you encrypt, basically you assume that you have to use the latest futuristic algorithm which are quantum resistant, because as the latest research we came to know that quantum brute force, the brute force algorithm where half a normal computer would take years and years to calculate all the possibilities. Quantum basically cut shorts that time into matter of minutes or 10 minutes, like that it can come to calculate all those possibilities in a very short amount of time, which is why it is expected to cause huge amount of disruption in the current PKI infrastructure. However, it is also found out that the algorithm quantum computer is capable to use or is expected to use in the near future. It can easily be defeated by doubling the key length. So you use the 250 bits of AES hashing instead of the normal legacy ones, and you use lattice-based cryptography. So these are always well-known approaches out there for the newer libraries or the algorithm that you are going to code. Use them so that you are not part of those that are disrupted by the quantum era that is expected. So the essence here is not quantum actually. The essence here is there is no HTTP. Always you encrypt. You assume that the breach has happened, so your traffic should be encrypted so that if the traffic is leaked out, data is leaked out, it's in an encrypted way. Like for example, this is one example we have in the past. We did this deployment for one of the customers where you have a reverse proxy. Every type of security is there for the public internet. However, we were, for the performance reason, we had that TLS offloaded and microservices were communicating with each other in the normal HTTP traffic. But in case of zero trust security, this HTTP traffic will be HTTPS, because zero trust security tells you, for example, if one of the server hosting one of the microservices is compromised, then it is able to capture the traffic for the whole LAN, for example, then that data should be encrypted. That is one principle of always encrypt that is going to help you there. And then it also emphasizes on the segmentation, micro-segmentation we talked about. So for example, if this server or particular few set of services hosting particular microservices are in a, for example, different VLAN, they are not able to capture or listen to the traffic of other servers, because then ACL will be there. It have to jump across the VLAN to be able to hit those servers. So you increase upon the network segmentation and you basically always encrypt to cater to those possibilities. It definitely is a little bit hit on the performance, but is a need for the future security and to be completely secure without trusting any element. And then obviously you need to have MFA, multi-factor authentication. These normal days operating systems have evolved from the past. You talk about Mac or you talk about Linux, all of them now support to have multi-factor security right from the login screen to every stage of the login process. In the Windows also, all possible combinations of login, they can be overridden using a technology called Windows Login Agent. It's a C++ based basically login agent which can be overrider. It can be integrated with the rest of the Microsoft ecosystem like Microsoft Identity Manager or Azure AD Intune, whereby you can completely customize the login experience of Windows screens. And same goes for Linux also. For the Linux, there is a PAM module that you can develop. We developed it from the company basically, and it's very simple, it's very straightforward also, whereby you can modify the complete login experience. For example, in this case, if you notice, this is not a password, this is a passcode which a user is going to receive as an OTP on the mobile device, or maybe as an authenticator app passcode which the user is need to type here and then need to proceed with the login step. So this is a customized login experience and it caters to all the scenarios of the login, not just for the console login. It can cater to the RDP login also and other possible Windows login scenarios. Same goes for Linux and Mac machine also. And for the web applications also, there are a number of solutions. Like for example, we developed SecureNY.com. It supports SAML protocol, OIDC Connect also, OAuth you call. Or there is other competing products also like Okta, which does the same thing for you. If you have a legacy application which you cannot modify now, for example, if have been developed formally in the past and you don't maybe having a source code or developers are not there, these solutions are able to override those solutions and give them sort of a layer of MFA. So just explore them whenever you have time. SecureNY.com. Okta is also there, which does the same thing. So you need to, the lesson here is you need to have a MFA in all cases so that more security is there in just rather than just a plain password. Also, next to that, when we talk about segmentation, the segmentation, if you notice, 802.1x is there to further beautify your segmentation needs. I mean, the novel network segmentation is just about making VLANs, but you can make it further enhanced by using the 802.1x protocol, which is basically a protocol to dynamically do the segmentation based on the MAC address or even based on the policies that are set on the machine operating system. I mean, it is there for quite some time in the Windows operating system. So, for example, you have a machine where you run the quality checks, whether it's joined to the corporate Active Directory domain, if it's the antivirus software enabled, if it's antivirus software updated, automatic updates are installed, if maybe that particular set of patches are missing or are there, firewall is on or off. If this meets all the complies with all the criteria, it can go to particular VLAN. Specific VLANs are also mentioned. This is a solution fully deployed for one of the company, and they are still using it. And so basically this is about the dynamic integration of security center of the Windows with the integration of the antivirus, which is possible these days. There is a service called NAP in the Windows server, it is there, and this is possible on the Linux and Mac also. And it's a very a decade old technology which is quite stable now, by the way. It's not something new. So the good thing about this technology is basically you can do the segmentation of all type of devices automatically based on some dynamic criteria. And not just that, you could do remediation also. Let's suppose a machine or the guest machine or Windows desktop does not meet certain criteria. You could do automatic remediation also, for example, pushing the patches in the quarantine VLAN and make the machine, for example, capable or pass all these checks and bring it back to the healthy VLAN. And even in the healthy VLAN also, we can do the segmentation based on the MAC address or based on the MAC Active Directory computer objects even, so that you achieve the essence of the zero trust security, whereby you are confining some of the machines in certain VLANs also. Same goes for the servers also. You want to put just the Exchange servers in a different zone like that. These days you have most of the server infrastructure on the cloud, but if it's a hybrid infrastructure where you are hosting some of the servers, this can be very useful for you. And if you are a private cloud company, or if you are for example hosting your service, then also it is very useful for you, then because with the micro segmentation the whole infrastructure won't be at risk. You will have only subsidized or a segmented portion that is compromised, so it definitely limits the damage or the blast. And further, basically you should have identity management product, like for example Azure AD. There is CrowdStrike also. There are tons of products in the market. Also there are open source products also that you can customize to your needs also. They are doing many things these days. For example, the logs are getting continuously shipped to them, and then they are doing machine learning on top of them, and then they are doing anomaly detection on them, that they are reading the pattern of users login, and if they see any anomaly in those login patterns or the past history of the user usage of the devices, so it's receiving all of the data from the same devices, and for the same agents on the network devices, and for the Windows security logs. And for example, it sees any anomaly, it can dynamically ask for requiring MFA, for example, or it can trigger some alerts to the security operations center. Basically, this is the essence of identity management solution, where they use an advanced machine learning. And if you couple with an advanced solution like SecureNY.com, there is certain solution from Okta, CrowdStrike also, where they can use even Face ID, and then Face ID is also loaded with emotions detection, where the application asks you to mimic certain emotion, like ask you to be do smiling also, so that it can naturally capture whether if it's really you or not, based on the anomaly detection criteria. Let's suppose it suspects that the login is not right, or the timing is abnormal, or it doesn't seem legit. It can ask you or challenge you for additional emotion detection on the Face ID on your app before you get the access. And it can have even the approval, dynamic approval also. For example, you have a difficulty accessing and you just want to directly access, there can be runtime emails going to and forth with your manager. They can dynamically approve and they can let you in. So this is the essence of basically identity management solution, where you basically get the access. So it is also a timed access also, where they restrict that the certain time limit is there. So basically such a solution you should have, which basically implement the essence of zero trust security. So what we talked about basically is the micro segmentation, how to increase VLANs, how to dynamically do that, how to use 802.1x, how to do the remediation also using the Azure AD and Intune also, which does the dynamic patching and make the machine compliant and bring it back to the network, a concept of the quarantine zone. And then we talked about MFA, whereby you can use the latest solutions for how to implement MFA on the operating system level, either it's Linux, Mac, or other operating system, or you could have even enabled it on the legacy web applications also. We talked about IAM also, that you need to have this solution to enable SSO, MFA, and all those things to implement multi-factor authentication. And then we also talked about encryption also, that always encryption need to be there, the advanced encryption algorithm have to be there, and then traffic should always be encrypted, assuming the breach, if the hacker gets the data, it's still in the encrypted form. And then there are small minor points also. You should have proper security permission set on the file system level, where the least amount of privileges are there. I mean, from the principle of least privileges should be implemented there. And then you should have compliance operations also that is going on. This is also important, besides the core points that I discussed. And then analytics also, this is happening sometime in the backend, as I talked about the anomaly detection. So these products that I mentioned for the MFA or IAM, they sometime are doing this for the anomaly detection, but you could have definitely the same logs, and they are observed by the security individuals to get the things done. As for I said, orchestration, you can have your own custom workflows around based on some security approvals or issuance of certain users privileges. But these products that I mentioned, Azure AD or CrowdStrike, they help you develop them. It's very easy when you use these products. You can develop your own by the way. Also, by the way, you do not really have to do a lot of spending, because even when I talked about Windows WLA, Windows WLA is a C++ normal DLL that anybody can develop their own and register it on the and push it to the desktop. So we did it actually for one of the company. So it's quite straightforward thing, albeit the language basically is the C++. Plus once you have that expertise, it's a very useful thing to customize the Windows login experience. So that's about it. Thank you very much.